land at time. Oh, yes, I'm receiving you. You are to call Quayside Radio on channel.
Lovely, isn't she? Of course she is. She's a film star, with credits that include the Oneiden Line, The French Lieutenant's Woman, and even Dick Turpin. And like all great film stars, especially those aged 54, she made sure she was centre stage. The Soren Larsen was the first of 120 ships from all over the world to arrive for the tall ships race. But she's not just a pretty face. She rounded the notorious Cape Horn in 1991. The first British tall ship to do so in 55 years. The Soren was also flagship of the tall ship's visit to Australia. She's earned her star rating.
And a sailing ship embodies many things. It takes a tremendous lot of skills to actually build a sailing ship, and then to actually sail it, it involves teamwork. And the combination of those things is very challenging. The sea is a great leveller, and the ship is the common denominator. People come here from all walks of life and have a common interest, and it inspires and gets people together, which perhaps normally in their normal way of life they wouldn't get together. But the ship is what does this, the sea and the ship.
More than 25,000 youngsters have learned to sail on the Sir Winston Churchill and her sister ship, the Malcolm Miller, under the guidance of the Sail Training Association. On this voyage, the Churchill is carrying nearly 40 northeast youngsters. They have to fight hard to win a place and to work hard if they do. Over the past year, the crew have already tackled a heavy program. But what's in store for them over the next few days?
They've got to look forward to long hours, good food, plenty of work in a strange and often hostile environment. They've really got to stick with it, and in fact, if they give up, they usually regret it. I'm pleased to say that very few of them give up. Most of them go right through the course, thoroughly enjoy it, and hopefully recommend their friends to come and do a trip as well.
This is why they call them the tall ships. Those masts are 189 feet high. You need a good head for heights to climb the rigging to raise nearly 45,000 square feet of canvas. The Sedov carries a crew of almost 200, the biggest in the fleet. And this is the gift of youth, or in her native Polish, the Dame Jersey. She lets the tide push her gently up the river, helped by a tug. From her waterline to the tip of her main mast, she's 172 feet tall, every inch a beauty. And another tall ship that's conquered Cape Horn. Coming down in scale just a little is the Hartlepool Renaissance, nicknamed the Crime Buster. This boat doesn't just carry a crew, it carries hope. It must be pretty crowded on the deck of the Norwegian Stadrad Lemkull. She's from the Newcastle twin city of Bergen. Her checkered history began with being built in Germany, taken as a war prize by Britain, given back to Norway, and then being recaptured by Germany in the Second World War. She's not very fast, and even her greatest admirers wouldn't call her sleek. And sat alongside the world's tallest ships, she'd be overshadowed to say the least. But her crew from the South Tyneside College wouldn't swap her for the world, because the St. Hilda is the vessel that will be leading the parade of the world's most glamorous sailing ships out of the river on race day. Then these empty spaces at Tynemouth will be crammed with spectators, and there won't be room on the pier for the occasional angler.
You're in front of all the biggest, the largest, most beautiful sailing ships in the world, all grouped together in Tyneside. And as this is a Tyneside boat, then I think it's a great honour for us, yes.
Mind you, Tyneside's only competitor in the race can afford to be just a touch blasé about the honour bestowed on her. After all, she did it last time, back in 1986, when the Tyne last welcomed the tall ships. But no matter how hard her crew practice, the St. Hilda will not be among the first ones back. She just hasn't enough sail to compete with the giants. However, the 4 college lecturers and 12 students who make up her crew are determined at least to win their class.
You only get an opportunity like this once. So the chance to actually go sailing across the North Sea and join in with a race such as the Tall Ships race is just, it's a one-off. So.
Normally I'd be on large container vessels, where this is going to be a change on a small sailing vessel.
Well, sailing has been a hobby of mine for quite a few years now, and when I saw the chance to do this, I jumped at it. It'd be a good experience.
Once the first leg of the race to Bergen is over, the St. Hilda will sail on to other Norwegian and Danish ports. She won't be expecting a huge turnout to welcome her back. She'll just slip quietly into a normal routine of teaching sailors about the sea and ships. On a grey Tyneside morning, the masts of the tall ships seem to be reaching into the mists. But nothing could mask the attraction of this carnival of sail. Hundreds of early morning spectators could see that the traditional method of taking supplies on board still held sway. Muscle power. Whatever the weather, the crowds still flocked to the quayside to celebrate the ships. And still they kept arriving. This is the training ship Royalist, mooring in the shadow of the Tyne Bridge. As night fell, the Royalist was all lit up, and soon Newcastle's most famous landmark would follow her example. A man who had already lit up the city was given the honour of illuminating the Tyne Bridge. Who else but Newcastle United manager Kevin Keegan? All this watched by huge crowds, just like a game for Keegan, really.
I think it's a very special occasion. It's the landmark, it's the thing that everybody knows the North East by. And you wonder why it hasn't been lit up before, really. But tremendous night, and to see so many people down here, you know, obviously the tall ships and this happening, and the way the city is at the moment, there's a buzz around it. It's something that certainly I'll remember for the rest of my life, and I've got my children here with me and my wife, and certainly at their ages, there'll be a lot of kids here tonight who will say, I was there the night the bridge was lit up, you know, and it's a very special occasion.
Tall Ships 93 will go down in sailing legend as the biggest fleet of sailing ships in British waters since the Spanish Armada. Only this time, the adventure worked. Here's a ship that's hard to miss, 250 feet long and 140 feet high. The mast alone rises 100 feet. This is the Tovarisch. She was built in Hamburg in 1933 when Hitler was just rising to power. The Tovarisch is an enemy turned friend. She was used to train German U-boat crews and land spies during the war. Eventually scuttled, she lay on the seabed for 3 years. Then the Russians raised and restored her. Next week, she'll be helping 50 youngsters from Tyneside housing estates who are joining her as ratings. The organisation, Coalition Against Crime, is paying to give them a seagoing treat.
What we're hoping to do is just raise their confidence, raise their self-esteem, use this as an experience, as a platform from being on the streets doing nothing, hopefully to take up ET schemes, things that they've rejected in the past.
The Hartlepool Renaissance is a little sister to the Devarage in the fight against crime. The youngsters on board have all won their places for work against crime in the community. They've led campaigns against bullying in schools and shown how to protect property. Every time the 72-foot ketch sails, she carries with her a full cargo of dreams. In last year's Round Britain race, they were those of Hartlepool and the Quayside Development Corporation, which built a multi-million-pound marina there. Bravely facing everything the sea could throw at them, the yacht and her lively young crew symbolised hope for the future of the town that had seen hard times. Of all the young men and women taking part in the race, perhaps this crew comes closest to showing the true spirit and meaning of the event.
These are I suppose we call them the creme de la creme of the 120 kids that we took around Britain, and they were the strongest and most helpful kids that we had on board. They had to be over 16, so there were some very good kids under 16 that we couldn't take, but of the over 16-year-olds, these are the best all-rounders.
It's like a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and it's like really the last time I'll ever be able to get on it, and I can't wait.
It's a chance of a lifetime, and I'm really pleased to have been chosen.
There are more youngsters aboard the Sail Training Association vessel, the Malcolm Miller. She'll need to be shipshape and Bristol fashioned for Saturday morning when Prince Edward comes aboard, so everybody is hard at work. Not many of the 39 northeasterners were up top, and they weren't to be found in the galley either. Sensibly, they were all drying out over a cuppa down under. But among the heavily sponsored giants, there are a few little family numbers. The Christiane, built in 1879, is the oldest ship in the race. She used to be a lifeboat off the Norwegian coast and saved dozens of lives, but she was forgotten until a Norwegian family restored her.
We're sponsored by ourselves, which is a nice feeling. We don't have to fly all those big, ugly, tacky flags to show our gratitude to anyone.
The Astrid, on the other hand, has a murky past. In 1977, she was chased by customs on suspicion of drug running. Her crew of 5 jumped overboard, never to be seen again. The Tyne Bridge acted like a magnet to attract people to the quayside as the sun finally appeared. And how the people came, not just from Tyneside, but from all parts of the country and abroad. Age or nationality didn't seem to matter. Everyone was drawn to the tall ships. On display was a forest of masts and rigging decked with the flags of nations from all corners of the globe. The sights and the sounds of this festival of sail were unforgettable. Twirling, stamping feet can make a mess of your decks. Ask crew of the Royalist. And just like in the old days, the best way to swab the decks is to use buckets, brushes and elbow grease. Of course, a nice bit of music helps the work along, but the people doing the swabbing must have wondered how the girls could sit and sing while they were hard at it. Surely in this day and age, there had to be a better and quicker way. A prayer answered. But why have the firefighters turned up to help the deck gang?
When something unusual comes along, I just request to hose the ship down for another youth organisation, because That's what we are running 30 squads, 30 kids in the West End of Newcastle in our Young Firefighters Association. So we're delighted to come along and help the Sea Cadets swill down their brig. You know, it's a chance in a lifetime. It's the first time I've ever been on a brig. It probably never happen again. So it was a great joy for me to go on it. The kids loved it. You know, the chances of getting on a sailing ship. You know, it's everybody's dream, isn't it?
It's a very special event. It's a gathering of all the nations, of youth of the world. And long before the Berlin Wall and all the rest of it came down, we were doing this for years and years. As everybody in Newcastle remembers, 86. It's been going for a long time, and it's all about these young people going across to Sedov there and helping them across to a nightclub or whatever. It's all about that working together. It's not just a race. It's not like the Whitbread race where we're all serious and we're going to be pumping on the grinds and hoiking sails left, right and centre. We're actually thinking about getting youngsters, different nations working together.
Nations working together. A lovely thought, but the first cry for help came from nearer home. 2 Russian ships on the quayside ran short of food and drink, but help was quickly at hand, courtesy of northern hospitality. And there were plenty of willing hands to load food and drink onto the massive Russian ship. Northern generosity was making sure that Sedov's trip to Bergen would be a comfortable one. The Mere was short of flour, but that's no problem when you just happen to be moored a few yards from the biggest mill in the region. Now that's really neighbourly. Never mind a cup of sugar, how about half a ton of flour? Friday, and a sunset calm before a colourful storm. Someone's been planning a gunpowder plot, 3 tons of it in fact. The smell of gunpowder is nothing new to many of the ships, but 500,000 people prepared to be amazed.
I apologise for being a little bit late this morning. Unfortunately, Simon's been detained somewhere, so we'll be in soon. I can just go through some essential information for this morning. So that's gunnery crew and liaison officer.
Liaison officer all in the group.
Yes, if liaison officers would like to attend, there's not a problem on space.
Right, where is it?
The sailing or canoeing. Assignment sailing will begin at the form on the table.
More than 2 million people have turned out all week to say hello. Today, 1 million came back to say goodbye. The tall ships had never seen a welcome like it, nor a send-off. People were streaming onto the quayside from early morning. They'd come for one last look at the brigs and the brigantines, the ketchers, the sloops, the schooners and the full-rigged ships. The magnificent armada, for one short week, captured the imagination of the region.
It's just nice for everybody to be happy and everyone together.
Everyone should be proud, especially if you're born in Newcastle, you should be here today. Everyone should be here.
We used to live in Geordieland years and years ago, so we come back for nostalgia as well.
Yes,
it's absolutely superb. The atmosphere here is just electric.
Marvellous. Absolutely wonderful. We should have every year.
Brilliant. Excellent. That's really nice day. Good.
There was to be a royal send-off too. Prince Edward arrived in his capacity as patron of the Ocean Youth Club. He was welcomed aboard the only Tyne-built ship in the race, the James Cook. Built by unemployed youths in Hebburn, it's also crewed by Geordie youngsters. The promotion of friendship among the youth of the world is the aim of the tall ships, but they've also reminded the Tyne of its own gritty past. As the vessels prepared to cast off for a spectacular parade of sail, the farewells began. For one wonderful, colourful, emotional week, the fleet had been in. And for the young, locals and visitors alike, it had been memorable.
It's marvellous, fantastic. We were here the last time, a few years ago, and we've been Thursday, Friday night, Saturday. Marvellous, really is.
It's very nice town. I enjoy this place. It's very good people.
Magnificent, magnificent, but it's, you know, the problem is that it was impossible to be everywhere. We should stay for 3 days longer here. It would be nicer.
The last tall ships race brought £20 million into the city of Newcastle. It generated £300 million worth of subsequent development. There's talk of nearly £60 million this time. No wonder the City Council is euphoric.
I think it's probably been more than successful in terms of what we did in '86. We learned a lot of lessons, we knew what we were doing this time, we knew what we had to concentrate the effort on, and that's what's important, and that's what's generated that success.
Finally, it was time to leave. The city that built its reputation on fine ships had opened its arms and its heart to these colourful visitors from the four corners of the world. The fleet sailed out on a great wave of emotion and goodwill. They'll be here again on the quayside in their thousands when next the boats come in, but there was more in store for the tall ships as they headed down the Tyne. 5 days after he moored the Soren Larsen at the quayside, Captain Tony Davis bids farewell to Newcastle. It's been the film star ship's first visit to Tyneside. This stretch of the quayside is usually deserted on a normal Saturday afternoon, apart from the odd angler. But people in their thousands have turned out to say farewell and good luck to the tall ships. As the Soren Larsen moves down the river, the crew begin lowering the sails, ready for the start of the race. 24 of the crew only came on board a few hours ago, but they're immediately put to work on their holiday of a lifetime. Is this what they mean by life on the ocean waves? Many of these ships visited the Tyne 7 years ago. But some ships paying a return visit have come from as far away as Poland and the former Soviet Union. Since 1986, there have been dramatic changes for their own people back home, and returning crews will have noticed changes of a less revolutionary kind on Tyneside. New developments like St. Peter's Basin, for instance, have transformed the quayside. They'll also have noticed that at Swan Hunter shipyard, the cranes are a little quieter than they were last time round. The Akela from Russia certainly wasn't shy about showing its support swans, and hard times haven't stopped the company's remaining workers from enjoying the tribute to its shipbuilding past. It's as though the river has taken the ships and the crowds on a journey back in time. No wonder there are spectators lining its 8-mile stretch from the quayside to Tynemouth. More than 1 million sightseers have turned out to wave the tall ships goodbye and wish them safe journey. And an awful lot of them were at Tynemouth. They began arriving early in the morning and they came well stocked for a long wait. Nobody seemed to mind the wait and they were rewarded with a great spectacle. After the St. Hilda had proudly led them out, the first tall ship to approach the harbour mouth was the Russian Mir. Presumably with fresh bread inside them, the crew were in good heart as they reached the open sea. Right behind her was another Class A ship, the Eindracht from the Netherlands. This tall ship cost £3 million to build in 1989. The last time Lord Collingwood saw this many ships was at Trafalgar. At least nobody's shooting at him today. And at last, the one they had all watched and waited for. The biggest ship in the race, the Sedov. Already the crew were preparing to unfurl those massive sails as she scented the sea breeze. It's been a breathtaking parade of sail, but now it's farewell to the Tyne and hello to the open sea. 1 million good wishes go with them.